In a quiet town where dusty roads stretched between small houses and mango trees, there lived a boy named Chinedu whose greatest desire was not wealth or fame, but something many took for granted, the chance to sit in a classroom and learn. Every morning, he walked to school with determination in his eyes, even though he knew there was always a chance he would be sent home again. His uniform was faded, his sandals worn, but his mind was sharp and eager. To him, education was not just important, it was the only way he believed he could change his story and help his struggling family one day. Each week, the same painful scene repeated itself. The teacher would call out his name, her voice firm and unyielding, asking for his school fees. Chinedu would stand slowly, his head bowed in quiet shame, and whisper the same response, he would bring it soon. The class had grown used to this routine, and some students laughed under their breath, not understanding the weight behind his words. The teacher, believing she was enforcing discipline, would send him out of the classroom, reminding him that rules were rules and no one could be exempted from them. As he stepped out into the harsh sunlight, Chinedu's chest tightened with emotion he struggled to contain. Tears often blurred his vision, but he wiped them away quickly, refusing to let them fall where others could see. Instead of heading home like he was instructed, he would take a different path, one that led him away from the comfort of rest and toward a place where his real battle began. It was not laziness that kept him from paying his fees, but a quiet determination that pushed him into a world no child should have to navigate alone. Hidden behind a row of small shops was a local car wash, a place filled with the smell of soap, oil, and wet concrete. This was where Chinedu spent his afternoons and most of his nights. While other children revised their books or played with friends, he carried buckets of water heavier than his small frame seemed able to handle. He scrubbed tires until his fingers wrinkled and ached, and he wiped windshields until they shone, all for a few coins that barely added up to what he needed for school. Nighttime brought a different kind of challenge. Under dim, flickering lights, Chinedu walked alongside grown men who often marveled at his resilience. The air grew colder, and exhaustion settled deep into his bones, but he refused to stop. Every coin he earned represented hope, a fragile but powerful belief that the next day he might finally be allowed to remain in class. Hunger gnawed at him, and sleep became a luxury he could rarely afford, yet his focus never wavered from his goal. When morning came, he returned to school, his body weary but his spirit still holding on. On one such day, he approached the teacher's desk and placed a few crumpled notes before her. His hands trembled slightly as he explained that it was all he had been able to gather. The teacher glanced at the money and shook her head, insisting that partial payment was not acceptable. Her words, though meant to maintain order, cut deeply into Chinedu, who could only nod before turning away once more. Days turned into weeks, and the cycle continued, each repetition wearing him down a little more. The lack of proper food, rest, and care began to show in his appearance. His once bright eyes grew dull with fatigue, and his movements became slower. Yet he remained determined, driven by a quiet promise he had made to himself that he would not give up, no matter how difficult things became. To him, quitting was not an option, even when everything seemed to be pushing him toward it. One afternoon, as the teacher wrote notes on the board, the classroom was unusually silent. Chinedu tried to focus, but the letters blurred together, and a ringing sound filled his ears. Without warning, his strength gave way, and he collapsed onto the floor. The sudden noise startled everyone, and panic spread through the room. Students rushed to his side, and teachers quickly intervened, realizing that something was seriously wrong. He was taken to a nearby clinic, where it became clear that exhaustion and lack of nourishment had taken a severe toll on him. Concern replaced discipline as the school staff began to question what had led to such a situation. One teacher, troubled by what she had witnessed, decided to look deeper into Chinedu's life beyond the classroom. She felt there was more to his story than she had allowed herself to see. Following a trail of quiet inquiries, the teacher eventually found herself standing at the car wash where Chinedu spent his nights. As she watched from a distance, she saw a small figure moving tirelessly, scrubbing and lifting with a determination that seemed far too heavy for his age. The realization struck her with unexpected force, and a deep sense of regret settled within her. The boy she had thought to be careless was, in truth, fighting a battle she had never noticed. The next day, the school assembly was called, and a solemn atmosphere filled the air. Chinedu stood weakly before his peers, uncertain of what was happening. The teacher who had once been strict stepped forward, her expression softened by understanding. She spoke openly about what she had discovered, her voice carrying both sadness and respect. She admitted that she had been wrong to judge without knowing, and her words resonated deeply with everyone present. As the story unfolded, the students who had once laughed felt a wave of shame and empathy. They began to see Chinedu not as someone to mock, but as someone to admire. His struggle, once hidden, became a source of inspiration. The school community, moved by his determination, decided to take action, ensuring that he would no longer have to bear such a burden alone. Support came in many forms, from financial assistance to encouragement and care. Teachers offered guidance, and students extended kindness where there had once been indifference. For the first time, Chinedu experienced what it felt like to be truly seen and supported. The weight he had carried alone began to lift, allowing him to focus more fully on his studies and less on survival. Years later, the memory of those difficult days remained, but they no longer defined him in the same way. Standing on a stage as a graduate, Chinedu reflected on his journey, his voice steady with gratitude. He spoke about perseverance, about the importance of understanding others, and about the impact that compassion can have on a life. His story, once one of silent struggle, became a testament to resilience and hope. In the end, Chinedu's journey served as a powerful reminder that behind every quiet face may lie a story of courage and endurance. It showed that small acts of kindness and awareness can change the course of someone's life in ways we may never fully comprehend. And as his story spread, it encouraged others to look beyond appearances and to offer support where it is needed most, creating a ripple effect of empathy and change.